Hello. So, sir, it's three, two, one. Sir, we are live now. Over.
Good morning, friends. Welcome to Life Pharma Coalition, the weekly elixir for learning and development in the pharmaceutical industry. In fact, we have walked 114 steps towards ensuring learning and development to all and everybody in the pharmaceutical industry. And today is the 115th session. It is said that our destiny is not created by the shoes we wear, but by the steps we take. So these are the steps, the baby steps rather, that we are taking in our journey to ensure that learning and development takes us forward in this pharmaceutical industry. Now, telling you some facts about learning and development, that India ranks third worldwide for pharmaceutical production by volume and 14th by value. In the coming years, the pharma industry is definitely going to touch newer heights as far as global ranking is concerned. Now, to accomplish this colossal feat, are we making our employees ready for the next level? Barring the top 50 companies, there is a dearth of capability building among employees due to the absence of a good training department as well as a learning and development curriculum. Among these companies who do not have the comfort of a training department, around 40% of the companies are actually not too interested in the development of their employees. But a major 60% are actually there who are really interested in building the capabilities of their employees, but they probably do not have the means of doing it. Friends, at LPC, we have always tried to enrich the pharmaceutical industry through our constant knowledge sharing on Sunday. We have also initiated the Mentor Master program for our LPC registered members so that they can learn from the industry experts personally through the proper guidance and coaching about the different facets of the pharma industry, and also get useful tips from the industry leaders to propel their careers to the next level. So, to get all the benefits of the world's largest pharma online discussion platform, please register now for LPC. For any queries, you can reach out to me. So, let us awaken a new dawn in training and development as far as the pharmaceutical industry is concerned. Now, I will share the presentation of LPC with a journey that we have traveled so far in our endeavor to enrich learning and development. So welcome to the world's largest online pharma discussion platform, Live Pharma Coalition, which is purely a learning and sharing platform. In fact, this has become the world's largest pharma discussion platform with your support, with your participation, and with your knowledge sharing. And we have got 45 plus pharma companies and institutions with 125 plus speakers, with 20,000 plus people reach on Facebook as well as YouTube. We have got a strong executive member team spreading across the length and breadth of the pharmaceutical industry, who have always got only one endeavor in mind: to develop the knowledge level of the people working in this wonderful pharmaceutical industry. In fact, this was the coveted event that took place in the month of March. The world's largest online pharma discussion became basically offline with LPC 100, where we all met at Hotel Orchid in Mumbai. And thank you so much for the overwhelming support that you had given to LPC 100 Conclave. In fact, for any type of collaboration that you want to associate with Life Pharma Coalition, please get in touch with Mr. Raman, Mr. Yashwant, Mr. ICS, or me at any time. Now, these were the leaders who were there at Mumbai on the 20th of March, who have supported us in our learning endeavor. And this photograph is reminiscent of the overwhelming presence and support that you have given us, and which has taken LPC to this level that we are today on the 115th session. So it would be unfair for me if I do not speak about the support that has been provided by Imagica Health, because they have been one of the crusaders who have supported us in our learning endeavor week after week. Imagica Health, in a nutshell, explores the intersection between design, digital health technology, and content marketing for the leading brands. In fact, they have an ex-marketeer-led team of medical writer, graphic designers, teamers, coders who serve the pharmaceutical for better customer engagement, bringing patient centricity, improving control on the sales team, and increasing the return on investment for various marketing campaigns. So thank you so much, Imagica Health, for your continuous support in our learning journey. So now once again, coming to Life Pharma Coalition. Today, in fact, this is a global knowledge and networking platform for the pharma professionals, which is dedicated towards building a collaborative learning community. And today we have a wonderful speaker with us, who is none other than Sonam Mathur, who is a senior associate with Emeritus. Along with me, I also have Mr. Sudeep Bhaumik, who is a zonal sales manager at Renocare. Now, once again, to inform all of you that after the LPC conclave in March, we are ready with LPC Pharma Conclave 2.0 at Ahmedabad, which will be on 21st of August 2022, Sunday, between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So for connecting and associating and collaborating with LPC Pharma Conclave 2.0, please get in touch with Mr. Yashwant, Mr. Raman, Mr. ICS, or me at any time so that we can connect, collaborate, and co-create. So thank you so much, LPC 114. That was last week on women leadership, which was live on Facebook page and YouTube. And thank you so much for your overwhelming support to this. Now it is time I hand over the session to Mr. Sudeep Bhaumik so that he can introduce Sonam Mathur, and after that she can get along with the presentation. So I'll not hold you back any longer. So over to Mr. Sudeep Bhaumik for the introduction of Sonam Mathur.
Yeah. So myself, Sudeep Bhaumik, I am the regular viewer of LPC from 2020 when the pandemic has started in the month of May. I am holding an MBA in pharmaceutical management and very much interested to upskill and reskill myself. So that today the topic is also very significant, that significance of reskilling in today's scenario. And it is my pleasure to introduce Sonam Mathur, who currently working as a senior associate with Emeritus and has been associate with D.Y. Patil University, Mika, Ahmedabad, and Prestige Indore in various academic roles. Mrs. Sonam Mathur holds an MBA degree in International Business, UCC NET in Management, and Mrs. Sonam Mathur published several papers and in national and international journals. So I am sure you will all enjoy, and we have a good learning session from Sonam Mathur. Over to Sonam Mathur, madam.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sudeep. Good morning, everyone. Very relevantly, we've been, discussing how reskilling is today's, topic and how relevant it is in today's scenario. I would say reskilling is something, we've been hearing every now and then. We've been hearing about every industry talking in terms of how reskilling is very, very essential. Let me take you through a presentation on what reskilling is, how do we, ourselves can reskill ourselves, and how industry on the whole has benefited from this concept. Let me share my screen with all of you. Yes. If we talk about the term reskilling, I'm sure we've all grown up learning about the term skills. When we were enrolled for school or when we were enrolled for a formal education, we were always told that we are learning certain skills. And in India, we've grown up learning several skills on both personal as well as academic level. And skilling is something that never stops. Even if we grow up, when we acquire certain, positions in organizations, or when we decide to open businesses on our own, skills has been something that we've been acquiring. And this is a continual growth process. Now, if we talk about the current scenario, we've seen a lot of changes happening around the world. And we've seen how things have, redesigned themselves, how there has been restructuring of a lot of things around us. And this makes reskilling all the more relevant to each one of us, irrespective of us being business owners or us being, small firm owners, maybe being a part of big industry as a small player or a big player, and even as employees of certain organizations. No matter which role we hold today, reskilling will always be something that will hold the most relevant form. Now, to proceed, I'll talk about what is reskilling. Now, if we talk about the term reskilling, the term obviously is a combination of the word re and skill. Skills have been something that we've acquired over the years. We've learned a lot of things in our life from childhood till where we are today. There have been processes that we have acquired. There have been, a lot of skills that we have, grown, incorporated and developed with certain trainings, certain development, etc. But reskilling has been something which today is the most popular industry buzzword, more because COVID-19 has pushed us in a situation where we are questioning the kind of atmosphere that exists around the working, and is it still relevant? Now, to talk about reskilling is the process of learning new skills to do an entirely new job. Now, this entirely new or different job could be something that we, as employees, would never have thought about some years back. For example, an accountant who was doing the task of calculations, keeping record of money, today he has the ability to become a data scientist. Similarly, a store worker or a store organizer, a person who was working in a store, today holds the capacity to become a customer service specialist. Now, how do these changes happen, or how have these changes evolved? This is because of reskilling. Now, reskilling is where I, as an individual, may acquire certain new skills, and these new skills will propel me and prepare me to do an entirely different job. Now, why do I do a different job? The reason could be that my current job is no longer relevant, or the requirement of my current job has altogether changed. Now, this has put me in a situation where I may need to acquire and learn new skills. The moment I acquire and learn new skills, I am reskilling myself, making myself more industry ready. Now, if we talk about organizations, do organizations see reskilling as an important concept? Yes, they do. Because when we talk about reskilling for organizations, this acts as an essential strategy for them to meet their staffing needs. And these staffing needs are very, very essential in the changing world. What we are seeing today around us is altogether new. We see a lot of things have happened which we maybe did not even imagine 3 years back. Back in 2017, maybe, the decent understanding of computers was enough for all of us to work. But today, without this knowledge, it is altogether impossible for us to continue our working. So when we say reskilling for organizations, it holds a lot of relevance because it is something that is very, very essential for them in order to succeed in what they are doing today. Similarly, if we talk about individuals, as individuals, reskilling presents an opportunity to every individual who wants to change their role in the current organization, or maybe they are looking at new organizations or new roles to acquire. Now, why again this is important? We all understand that the economic scenario 2 years back was entirely different. And the way things have shaped, the things have changed, they were totally unexpected. A lot of reports have talked how economy was pushed back, not at a industry level, not at a very small level. It was a global impact. And this global impact pushed not only the organizations, but the employees in a questionable state. What I'm doing today, will I be able to continue doing what I'm doing today? If not, what is it that I need to do? Where is the change that is required? The change that was required was reskilling. The moment you reskill yourself, the moment you decide to acquire a new skill, you are creating a room for yourself to grow or to develop. Now, this growth or development can be a part of your current role in the same organization. It can be an upgradation, or it could be to acquire an altogether new role at a new company. Like I said, an accountant who trains himself, skills himself, and prepares himself to become a data scientist. So how is it possible? It is possible through reskilling. Reskilling will be something that will continue to hold relevance no matter how big the economy or how big the global economy grows. Now, when we talk about reskilling, we've been hearing a lot of things happening around us. We say reskilling is essential, reskilling is important, reskilling is the buzzword, reskilling is required. Every industry wants people to be reskilled, and every role demands some or the other skill to be acquired. Now, why or what makes reskilling so essential? The most important thing, the most important change that we have observed around us is the change that has come in the economic demands and the technology post the pandemic, especially in the year 2019-20. Now, post-pandemic, we've seen that technology and economic demands, they have changed at unprecedented speeds. What was important 2 years back today may have become totally dormant. Or what was essential 2 years back may not be that essential today. There might be something new that has come up. So if we look at the current scenario, just for an example, a warehouse worker who was doing his task of arranging things in a warehouse, he was probably operating a machine and he was keeping his things in place. But what happens now when most of the work was not done physically and the requirement was such that each one of us was pushed back? What was the new skill that was required? Now he needed to understand the automation that was happening around in his industry. To learn that automation, he had to acquire new skills. That is where he reskills himself in the newer technology to become more job ready, to become more industry ready, to be able to take on the new challenges. Similarly, we've seen that how disruptive events can hasten the trajectory. I'm not saying that, if there is no pandemic, there is no need for reskilling. Reskilling has been something which has, grown. The graph has always been going up. But events like COVID-19, such disruptive events, they hasten this trajectory. The movement of this trajectory becomes altogether faster. And the need for us to reskill becomes all the more emergency kind of a need rather than the need which can be catered to at a slower rate. Then we say that, there are certain events that also push our economy back. I'm so sorry. There are events that can push our economy back. And these events accordingly will also act as those disruptive events which can hasten the trajectory and need for us to reskill ourselves. Then if we say that, I do not want to reskill, and what if I don't reskill? Now failure to do so can lead to the industry or the individual to fall behind. We have seen how people have, lost their jobs, how there have been situations where altogether the industry has been, in a downfall. They have experienced negative changes. They have lost a lot of money. And in a lot of cases, there have been situations where, they have been altogether pushed back by 5 years of what they were when the situation came. So yes, if I say why reskilling, an important factor here is if we do not reskill or if we do not reskill ourselves, the industry and the individual who fails to do so will fall behind in the current scenario. Then obviously reskilling is very essential to fill in the skill gaps. Now, what are skill gaps? If we consider the scenario today, now to be able to talk to each other sitting at our homes today, it is very, very important that we know the skills of how do we operate a system, how do we use this technology to connect with each other, how do we network without getting out of our homes. Now, this is a skill that is essential to be able to network in today's time. Reskilling is something that helps you in filling this skill gap. So reskilling is essential so that every skill gap can be filled and every position can create a new demand in the market. Then reskilling is very essential because today a lot of skills have become dormant. Maybe 2019, whatever was a required skill, today does not hold that relevance because the industry has changed, the global economy has changed, the demands have changed, the way things are working around us has changed. So what skills were 2019 upskills are now dormant in 2020-22. And this trend is expected to continue. In order to keep this dormancy low, reskilling is the need of the hour. And if we reskill, we see it has a positive impact, not only for the industry, but as an individual also. When I decide to reskill, I learn and acquire something new that opens up newer opportunities for me. I am able to do something and I'm able to contribute to something which I was earlier not. Now, this creates a room for me to feel positive about, makes me more in-demand individual, and obviously it has something that is known as a positive motivation impact on the life of an employee or an individual. Similarly, for industry, every industry that has upskilled on time or has reskilled itself on time has been in demand and has been able to maintain their growth trajectories. Now, if we talk about reskilling as beneficial strategy for employees and employers, we can see it has huge impact. Now, this impact is not only restricted to the financial impact. This is also expanding itself to the impact in terms of motivation, in terms of leadership, in terms of being able to develop a sustainable business model, and in trend to be able to catch up with what is the requirement in the industry. Now, surprisingly, in certain reports, especially by McKinsey and Company, they have found out that 87% of the executives, they are reporting a skill gap in the year 2020. Now, 87% is a huge number. For any industry or for any employee to be in that sphere is a negative situation. Neither the employee grows nor the organization. Similarly, World Economic Forum has reported that the actual gap between what is required and what is there as a skill is 40%. 40% again is a huge number. By 40%, they mean to say that we still have a scope of expanding our learning graphs by 40% to be 100% ready for the situation that we are currently. Then Gartner has found that 33% of the skills which were required in the year 2017, they have become redundant in the year 2020-21. So for somebody who might have graduated in 2017 with what skills he thought were the buzz skills in 2017, may probably be in a situation today where he feels that those skills are no longer in use or demand. And 33% means that there is a huge scope, which also forces each one of us to rethink where do we need to reskill ourselves. Now, talking about the benefits of reskilling for the employers. Now, we know for employers, it is very, very important to have a workforce which can have a positive, contribution to their growth. And one of the reasons why reskilling is important for them is because it helps them in avoiding layoffs and rehiring. We've heard in 2020-21, a lot of people have lost their jobs because of the skill gaps or because of the poor economic situation. One of the major reasons was also people were not having the right skills to be sustainably employed by the same employer. Now, we see this as a negative point, but is it negative only for the employee? No. Any layoff or rehiring is also a costly affair for any industry or any organization. That is why rather than rehiring and layoffs, an organization would always prefer their current employees to be reskilled. That creates more scope for them to be, continuously doing a business. Because finding the right talent is as difficult as, maintaining that talent in your organization. So avoiding layoffs and rehiring is one of the major benefits of reskilling for employers. Then it becomes a very cost-saving, strategy compared to hiring new employees. The entire process of recruitment and finding the right pool of talent is a very, very costly affair. And the time that it may take for the organization to acquire the right talent may be so long that they may, lose a lot of business in the time by the time they acquire these employees. Next is, yes, obviously, by reskilling, the employers are able to reduce the employee turnover. When an employee is equally skilled or is skillful enough to be able to sustain the work that he is doing and does it well, this reduces the turnover for the organization. Then reskilling also helps industries or employers in recruiting new employees. When we say reskilling, a positive reskilled HR workforce in the organization will be able to identify the right pool of talent for the organization. And this makes the recruitment process smoother, better, and faster. Identifying the right talent in itself is a skill that HRs have developed over the year and will be able to sustain the organization for longer. Now, this was from the point of view of the employer. What about employees? That the stage that most of us are in. Now, benefits of reskilling for any employee will help them in changing the career path. Now, today, if I tell that the role of an accountant is no longer required, so what is that individual going to do now? He's always learned the skills to be an accountant. If he decides to reskill himself, he can identify different roles and he can always change his career path, no matter what age, what experience, what time, and what industry he is in. Then it helps the employees to adapt to the changing workforce because of the changes that have happened as a result of automation and digitization. Now, automation and digitization are two things that have caught in trend, and this trend this trend is there to stay very, very long. And anybody who fails to catch up with this trend is bound to lose their position. And obviously, as an employee, when I am reskilled and I am sure that I can now, or I am now in a position where I can, acquire new roles or maybe change my career path, I will feel a greater sense of job security. The moment we hear that, this has changed, the way this working was done is now changing, we feel a sense of fear. Now, this fear comes because probably we lack the right skill to be able to fill in that job. So whenever an employee is reskilled, he or she feels more confident and he has a greater sense of job security. A greater sense of job security has a positive impact, right, on his contribution to the growth of the organization as well as this individual growth. So this, more or less sums up how reskilling is a beneficial strategy, not only for employers, but for the employees as well. Now, if we talk about skills, we've been talking about reskilling, and how reskilling is essential, how 2020 things were changed, and how, altogether there is a gap. Now, what is this gap? This gap talks about the top 10 in-demand skills in 2020. How has 2020 changed the situation? Now, a lot of, surveys have been carried out to understand how the working has changed pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and, pre-situation where the economic status was probably better, and now that we are pushed back. The top 10 skills that have emerged as the in-demand skills are complex problem-solving skills. The most in-demand skill has been complex problem-solving. How good as an individual are we at solving the complexity of problems? Because the complexity worsens whenever there is a disruption. We were probably in a profitable business model in the year 2019, and maybe we were doing it on a physical store level. But now that people cannot physically come to the business, or the business cannot physically go to the people, how do we solve this problem? So complex problem-solving skills have emerged as the most in-demand skill in 2020, followed by critical thinking. Critical thinking is essential in order to save time and in order to save the resources. Also important to channelize what is in hand with the organization. The third essential skill is creativity. Creativity by far and large has been one skill that has never got out of trend. Creativity in terms of problem solving, creativity in terms of critical thinking, creativity in terms of, out of box thinking, creativity essentially in every activity. is the most in-demand skill. Then comes people management. Now, just to give an example, 2020, people had a very negative state of mind. There was a situation, people were losing jobs, the economy was in a downfall, and there was a situation when physically meeting somebody was also creating a sense of fear in our minds. In such situations, for a person who is in a sales force and probably going to his client personally to meet and sell a product, his entire state of mind was negative. Not only the person who was selling, even the person who was at the buying end was fearful of meeting and was probably not in a such situation where he could buy those products and services. Now, in such, type of situations, it was very, very important to understand that people management and emotional intelligence, they work hand in hand to ensure that there is positivity in such type of situations. So people management, coordination, and emotional intelligence. These were three skills that are interlinked and were very, very essential in a situation where meeting and understanding physical needs was totally different. Then comes the judgment and decision making. Now, we all do agree that for any organization or any employee individual to be able to continually grow, decision making is one of the most essential things. Now, this decision making need not be hastened, but this decision making needs to be positive. Just making a decision does not solve a problem. It also caters to taking the right decision. So judgment and decision making again emerge as one among the top 10 skills in demand in 2020. Most important comes service orientation. Now, when in a situation we were not meeting each other physically, we were not able to understand the physical needs of the people, probably talking to a buyer face to face and understanding his emotions, service orientation is something that, took the front seat. It was observed that every organization which was service oriented was able to sustain itself and emerged as a profitable business in the year 21-22. Next comes negotiation, the power to solve a complicated issue through negotiation. Negotiation skills again have been in-demand skills, for as long as the skills have been developed and adopted by industries. The last is cognitive flexibility. Now, flexibility is something, that surprisingly emerged as among one of the top 10 skills, because as an employee or as an employer, any industry or individual who was rigid, who was not willing to change, they faced most of the issues. And the moment they adopted flexibility made them more adaptable, made them more in demand, and made them more, more positive in terms of situation where they were called for, they were required by the industry. So cognitive flexibility emerged as among the top 10 skills. Now, apart from these skills, these are broad skills where we are talking about, on both level of the industry as well as the individual. How do we say that right now, what can I do? What could be those 4 skills that I can adopt maybe today, or maybe find a process where I can start learning them today to be more, adaptable, to be more in demand. So yes, the first skill is learning digital marketing. Why digital marketing? Because marketing has always been something that has been seen as a relationship building activity. How your customer finds you, how your customer, thinks about you, feels about you, has always been how well you have marketed yourself to them. Now, in a situation where there was, no scope for meeting your customer personally, digital marketing was something that was, very relevantly holding the stage. For any organization with positive digital marketing presence, their businesses did not suffer. Even though this situation was such that, the entire economy was in a downfall, the businesses that were quite well equipped with the digital marketing and social media marketing skills, they were able to sustain and sail well through this situation. Now, social media marketing again is important because today, in order to be able to network across the world, We need to understand what are the different social media tools available and how those tools can be utilized by individuals as well as the organizations to be able to network. Third comes emotional intelligence. Now, I've already discussed how emotional intelligence is an important skill. When we say emotional intelligence, the situation was such that, a lot of reports even mentioned how depression was on rise during the pandemic, pre-situation where the markets, pre-situation where the market was developing, and post where the economic downfall had happened. Now, emotional intelligence is something that, equips a person to be able to not only connect on a business level, but to connect at a personal level. And this personal connect is very, very relevant today for any individual to be able to sustain in this situation. Now, taking an example from the pharma industry, I'm sure the MRs, they were meeting the doctors to understand what the requirement of the doctor were. Probably, the meets were maybe 5 times in a month or so. And in pandemic, when there was a situation you couldn't go and meet your doctor, how did you connect with them? And could you just connect with them the way they were connecting earlier? No, because the doctors themselves were in a very negative state of mind. They were facing the worst, situation among all of us. And those pushed the boundaries of how well we were interacting with them. There, the role of emotional intelligence becomes very, very relevant. If I am able to overcome those hurdles and connect at an emotional level with all the respective customers, I am in demand, or I am somebody who is more in skill as compared to others. And the last is resilience. Now, why resilience? Falling and not getting up or not wanting to get up is something that leads to the downfall for any organization or for any individual. Resilience will say that no matter how worse the situation gets, no matter what situation you fall into, if you have decided that you will learn, unlearn, relearn, and upskill and reskill yourself, you can always and always find a room for growth. So resilience is something that we can at this point of time adopt as among one of the top 4 essential skills to be able to grow and sustain. Thank you. Now this essential. Yes,
thank you, Mrs. Mathur. Wonderful presentations. A lot of appreciations are coming for you in our YouTube and Facebooks. Here, our regular participations were there. Just our Srikanth, Mrs. Madhuri Doshi, and Dashwan Mr. Abid Hossain Siddiqui all have shown their appreciation towards you. And wonderful, you have started that what is reskilling, that process of learning new skills to do the entirely different jobs. And it is a little different from the upskilling also. You have, as we have discussed, that reskilling refers to a process of learning new skills needed to do any entirely different job, where upskilling aims to teach the employees within the company the new skill to optimize their performance. So reskilling is very much important in this scenario, at least in 2020 and 2022, that because as a professional, recycling sets out train employees to adapt a different post within the company. And to reskill is essentially to retrain an employee for a new position. It is a benefit for the organizations and for the employees also, as you have told, that it's give a new career pathway. And in the pharmaceutical industry, it is often happening. In fact, a few days back, a big multinational company, they have removed around 50 plus employees. So they have all become aged. They cannot go and join as a medical representative. So many of them, they're applied for the training manager for a small company or at-par company. So for the medical representatives, they're coming, or from a manager level, they're coming to this training department. and they're successfully doing also. Some of them are having a product interest, scientific interest. They are going and joining as a product managers or marketing managers. So this is very much important that reskilling today refers an entirely new sphere of knowledge. It involves learning new skills that are completely different from whatever you learned before.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, and it is very perfect to way to enter the new industry or begin a new different career pathway. Even many of our colleagues I have seen, they have quit as a medical representative or a manager, as a regional manager, as a VP sales, and they have started their own company as an entrepreneur. So this is a wonderful session, Mrs. Mathur, from your end. When you have asked these 10 skills, 10 basic skills, which has really is a learning point for me. The change in the top skills, that's complex problem solving. It is one of the now most required. And this critical thinking, if you don't think pros and cons, that SWOT analysis, if we don't do and go ahead, will be in big trouble. And creativity is always, earlier it was there, now it is much, much important. We have the creative thinking. We have to have an innovative thinking to do something out of box. And as you have rightly told, that cognitive flexibility. Now the thing is happening in such a way because manpower attrition, because after globalizations, manpower attrition has become a big issue. Because people are going, if they does not got job in India, they are very much flying for abroad. So getting good people is very much difficult. So it is better to have a negotiation and cognitive flexibility. So wonderful presentation, Mrs. Mathur. Over to Arpan, or Mr. Arpan.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was really an ocean of knowledge as far as reskilling and upskilling is concerned. In fact, if I can take this to another level, the shelf life of any skill has come down with this COVID pandemic.
Absolutely.
In fact, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most conservative industry, or it was considered to be one of the most conservative industry as far as embracing digital technology was concerned. But with this COVID pandemic, I think things have got preponed as far as embracing new technology is concerned. And in fact, the shelf life of any skill is now only 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you something, that with the shelf life of a skill now coming down to 2 to 3 years, and again the half-life of a skill, which is also referred as the time when a skill is innovated, flourishing, and then slowly becomes irrelevant. So what are basically the perishable skills which are today found in the industry?
Right. Now, if we talk about perishability, or if we talk about what skills have altogether disappeared, right, I would say every desk job, right, that required a person to physically contribute has today become redundant. Why? Because there is no need for people to run around. The machines are already doing that. So the replaceability came with the machinery. Then this evolution happened where this machinery started upgrading itself. Now, with every upgradation in the machinery, it means there is higher degradation of human force. With the new machinery, we have high replaceability, and this high replaceability will push us back in a situation where maybe tomorrow we may not even require the humans to do any task. We have already, started experiencing how deliveries are happening with the help of drones. Now, this essentially altogether, creates a market where there is no need for human to physically go and deliver a product or service. So if somebody only knows, how to deliver a product from one point to another, what will he do? Because his job is already taken over. Similarly, with artificial intelligence, machine learning taking over, and a lot of technologies developing around us, blockchain, etc., the entire essence has shifted. It was earlier a situation where we invented a machine that was doing our task. Now that machine has started replacing us. So if I'm not one step ahead of what this machine is capable of doing, I am at a risk of losing my job. So it applies to every industry. It applies to every kind of job. There is no one specific skill, no one specific job which we can say is 100% secure. So if we can't think faster than what our machines are thinking, we become 100% replaceable.
Correct. So that means unless and until we carry on the golden mantra of unlearning, learning, and relearning,
yes.
So we cannot survive in the industry. That means the perishability is always there, or the skill becoming obsolete is always there. So we need to constantly upgrade on our skills. And like you said, the upskilling and the reskilling Upskilling means what I know, I should take it up further. And reskilling means trying to learn some new skills,
Something,
which would
yes.
keep me relevant in this job market, right? Now, coming to after perishable skill, now, which are the skills do you think are the durable skills that might be having a longer shelf life?
Okay, so if I say what are the skills having a longer shelf life, I've already told the top 10 in-demand skills. Now, if we look at those top 10 in-demand skills, most of them are very, very long-term skills. Those are those skills maybe where, machine cannot overtake a human. The objective over here is to understand where is lowest replaceability. The moment the replaceability becomes lower, if I acquire a new skill and I know there might be lesser people to replace me at that skill, that is the most in-demand skill continuously. What today, maybe if I say today's skill A is more in demand, may not be the same situation tomorrow. Tomorrow, there might be a new skill B which would be ready to be in demand. But what remains, the base remains the same. If I am irreplaceable, I am in demand. So any skill that makes me irreplaceable will be the most in-demand skill.
Correct. That means that is going to be something very durable.
Yes.
So in that aspect, I
Long-term.
think critical thinking, communication skill, collaboration, these
Critical
are some of
thinking.
the,
Absolutely.
yes. So these will be something very durable because these are things we
Absolutely.
will develop
Long-term.
within ourselves long term. So these will be something that can be very durable, that can be taken for a long term. And in fact, if you take it in a different way, these are some things which are always associated with a lot of emotions.
Absolutely.
Now we have been hearing a topic known as the emotional intelligence, right? Which machines, that is, as you told about artificial intelligence, you told about machine learning, that means Python, the language that's followed there. Okay, so these things do not carry emotions.
Absolutely.
So now
and
why
that
do
takes
you
us
think?
ahead of the machines.
Absolutely. So see, man created machines. Now we cannot be dictated by machines, the human beings, because there has to be something which has to differentiate a human being from a machine. And that, of course, is the emotional intelligence. So I would like to ask you, how much do you think emotional intelligence scores over this machine intelligence or the machine learning?
I would say it scores, 100% higher. Why? Because, in a situation where I do not understand the emotional needs, I will never be able to sustain myself. In a situation where I'm just plainly selling a product, it is something, where there are no emotions, and I probably do not need to do it on a physical, platform also. I can always, send a flyer or probably use different promotional marketing techniques to do that. But how do I connect? Where is that connect? The connect comes through the emotional intelligence, and that is one, skill that 100% holds maximum relevance today.
Yes, absolutely. Because in a market which is full of Me Too products, I think it is the emotions that is going to set the ball rolling. Because
Absolutely.
otherwise, everybody has got the same type of products. Everybody has got also the same
Same
skill set in trying
platform
to
to sell.
convince.
Yes, they have the same
Yes, yes,
platform to sell. Right.
absolutely. And even most of them have the same skill set. So what is going to differentiate them, demarcate them from the rest is the emotions that they have, the emotional intelligence that they have. So it was really an exhaustive session on reskilling. And absolutely, this is the need of the hour because COVID pandemic has said that nothing is permanent. Everything is a transient situation.
Yes.
And people need to constantly upgrade themselves, upskill themselves, reskill themselves to stay relevant in the job market. In fact, you took a very good example of an accountant. Like you said, that an accountant job is slowly becoming obsolete because a computer can do all those things. A software loading in a computer does even better, faster, and without any mistakes. Okay. So now what is the situation for an accountant? Does it mean that he is totally vulnerable now? Does he become jobless? No. With a reskilling, he has got a definite superior chance of reskilling himself and taking to a different positions where again his knowledge will become very relevant, right? So those were the questions that we had, and I think Mr. Sudeep has already said about the appreciations that have been flooding from the different Facebook as well as YouTube. So do you have any questions, Mr. Sudeep, for Ms. Sonam Mathur?
First question is, Mrs. Mathur, how to reskill yourself or one person who you want to be? So if you can just give some insights.
Yes. Now, if we talk about the current situation, we see that, there are more opportunities for employees who are looking for a change, or who are looking for, switching their roles or even entering newer industries. And there are a wide range of programs and training courses that we can, possibly enroll ourselves for. But what is important here is, before enrolling for any such courses, the first thing is that we need to identify the objectives. What are our objectives? Why am I reskilling myself? What is my goal? And what is my goal in this broader, context of my career and my life? Is it a specific industry that I want to reskill myself or upskill myself? Or is it any type of work that I want to take on? And what makes me the best fit? So identifying my objectives would be the first thing before I, decide how should I reskill myself, or how should I upskill myself. Then comes, how good am I at networking? Now, networking is very, very essential to understand, where are those opportunities, or where is it that I can take an advantage. So building up connections, or talking to people who are working in similar roles, similar fields, and being able to connect with them at a level where I can understand the day-to-day skills and responsibilities that are required is important. After understanding the networks, probably I need to take advantage of what are the opportunities that my current role or my current organization can offer me. A lot of time, what happens is, a lot of things are there to learn within the same industry and the same role. The only thing is, we don't tend to consider them, just because we've never looked at them, or we've never considered them important. So it is essential to identify the advantage that can be taken up at my current role, and the opportunity that my current organization can offer me to learn something. And accordingly, once I identify them, I can always enroll myself into programs. For example, I feel that digital marketing could be one skill that is essential. So I can enroll myself for a digital marketing, course. Similarly, identifying that, probably social media marketing skill is what I require to do, I can always do a certification program based upon how much time, energy am I willing to invest, and to what extent do I need to upskill or reskill myself. I can always choose my duration. Do I want it to be a short certificate program, or a diploma, or a degree? That can vary from individual to individual. But what remains is that essential identification. And very important thing is then to rework on, highlighting those transferable skills. Just acquiring a skill is, not something that will help us. To be able to highlight those skills, to be, able to present them well in my, if I would say, to be able to present them through my resume, to be able to present them in a manner where industry would take notice of me, is equally important. And that is again a skill. Everybody is not able to, bring out their skills, no matter how good they are at them. So this again is, one way where we can work on ourselves. So if I have to skill myself, I also need to skill myself at highlighting my skills. And equally important is, being able to take advantage of that skill at the right point of time.
Very true. Very good. Exactly. We have touched the nail on the bottom. And another question is, now companies are also, many companies does not, put some budget, because it is again a matter of, expenditures to take the experts to train them. So what do you feel, has the companies reskilling and upskilling budget has gone up by the companies?
Yes. If we talk about companies, we've seen situation where companies have, endured long-term losses because of the situation they were pushed in the pandemic. However, if industries consider, and if organizations calculate the cost of losing talent, it is much higher. It is much higher than actually being able to sustain with the current workforce that they are moving in. And that is where, upskilling and reskilling becomes important for them. The cost of reskilling and upskilling employee is not a trend, but it is, something that is more of a survival strategy for the sustainable growth of any organization. Now, if I may say, organizations in the IT sector, they observe that close to 58 to 59% of their employees needed to be retrained and upskilled. Now, one way is that, I can ask all 58% of them to leave the organization, and I can hire new people who already have learned those skills. That is one way, but that is the costlier way. The better and I would say the more economic way is to upgrade those workforce with the right skills and efficiency to take on their work more responsibly. And as a part of budgeting, a lot of companies have already, estimated their investment strategies, and these companies have somewhere close to increased their budgets by 10%, contributing this to the growth of their employees and organization. And those companies which have, actually implemented them, they have also seen a positive growth. They have seen a positive change in their overall working and environment. And yes, it has financially contributed to their upliftment also. So I would say, though companies find, we look at situations where companies are firing employees and we feel that it's the easier way out. It is not always the easier way out. The easier way out is, to grow and keep your employees in the growth trajectory with you.
Very true, very true. Exactly. We also mean the same thing.
That's
So,
wonderful.
yeah. So these are were my two questions, Mr. Arpan. So we are at the fag end of the session. So my learnings, I can share my learnings for today's sessions is that way of to make my career pathway in different way, and that top 10 skills what we have told, I will definitely be more proactive to make my this creative thinking more strong, and the people management, which is very much important in the sales management, especially to make it the things, and with emotional intelligence and definitely this negotiation and cognitive flexibilities we should have in this era to run the show in better way. Over to Mr. Arpan.
Yes, in fact, I was listening to Sonam when she was answering the questions. In fact, she said something like networking. Yes, today in this era, your network is your network. And that is very much true, because we need to water the relations so that they become stronger, and we can definitely increase our network, because the more number of people we are connected in today's era, the better it is for us for the upliftment of our career journey. So that would definitely be a good thing. And at the same time, it is also said, according to a study, that 75% of the skills which we learn, if we are not able to implement it, utilize it within the next 6 days, the 75% of it goes away. So for the 100% that we learn, 75% goes away within the next 6 days if we are not able to implement whatever we have learned. So that means whenever a training program is done for uplifting the skills of any employee, we need to ensure that within the next 6 to 7 days, we are able to make the people implement whatever they have learned, so that this erosion is not there, because that becomes very high cost on the part of an organization. And many a times it has been seen that organizations bleed because of this. Another thing you said about hiring people. In fact, hiring decision is always very costly for the organization. Instead, it is better to keep the people who are there and train them, upskill them, reskill them, because this will be less costly for the company, instead of once again taking on board people, training them all over, and then making them start their work. So it is always advisable for companies not to retrench people, but rather to retrain them, so that they can become more effective and more efficient. So that was something very nice we heard from you. And I think a lot of hiring managers who are listening to you will take a lesson or two from what you said about reskilling and upskilling in the current pharma industry. Because COVID era, the 2020 to 2022, the era had three parts. One was survival, second was revival, and now it is thriving. So survive, revive, and thrive, if I can put it in the three dimensions. So this is the time, 2022, when organizations are going to thrive. And definitely training will play a very important role as far as upskilling and reskilling employees are concerned. So it was really a very exhaustive session that you have taken today. And definitely, I'll come back to you for one very important thing. That is what has been your learnings from your first session on LPC.
Well, I would say that, any opportunity that helps you network is a learning opportunity. And that's what I mentioned, that one of the essential skills today is to be able to network right. Then always having a platform where you can showcase your skills. Again, that is, a part of your upskilling and your reskilling process. So obviously it acts as an opportunity for me to, be able to highlight a skill that I possess, and maybe, helps me identify the gap at where I need to, progress higher. So any platform which gives an opportunity for people to learn and to share knowledge is, altogether a takeaway in the learning. And I would say, yes, this was a great opportunity to understand, how industries are in a situation where they are looking at people who can fill in the right position for them. And this also creates a scope for me to understand that, where is the opportunity for me to grow.
Yes, definitely. So we should always look for the learning opportunities so that we can definitely grow. And as you said, upskilling and reskilling is the only way that we can take this journey forward so that we grow and we know more about the knowledge that is required for us to grow. So thank you so much, Sonam Mathur ma'am. It was really a wonderful knowledge sharing session from you. Thank you so much, Mr. Sudeep Bhaumik, for the amount of impetus that you have given to take this learning journey forward. And you are also developing yourself as a very good panelist as far as holding live shows are concerned. And this has been the golden mantra of LPC, because we not only develop ourselves, but we handhold others so that in the process, they also get developed. And that is why the three words that we use with LPC is connect, co-collaborate, and co-create. And that is exactly what we are doing. And I'm very sure many of others will also join our endeavor to become good communicators, because in the business, whatever we are doing, the most important thing that we need to keep in mind is the communication, because that is a bridge that is going to connect people. So the better we communicate, the better will be our connection. So as customary, towards the end of this session, there is a small story which I generally narrate with the current prevailing situation which is going on. So now we are hearing about a lot of elections, a lot of swearing in ceremonies, a lot of governments going down, a lot of governments forming. So today's story is on the elections. The jungle elections were happening and it was just round the corner. And as we know, the lion is the undisputed king of the jungle. But then there was a monkey who was trying to convince the other animals that it was time they usher in a change, because it has been a long time since the lion has remained the king. And now it is time that they must change hands, the baton of leadership. So finally, the animals decided, well, enough is enough. So now it's time we give the monkey a chance to be the king of the jungle. Now, few days later, after the monkey was sworn in as the king, a goat went missing. And the animals went to the lion to request him to find out the goat. Now, what the lion said, that I am no longer the king. So now go to the tree palace where the new monkey king is residing. Now, the animals went to the monkey. And after hearing the problem, the monkey assured the animals that he will find out the missing goat. And what he did, he started swinging from one branch to another of the tree in search of the goat. Okay, and this continued for more than an hour, but the goat was nowhere to be found. Now the animals asked the monkey that, where's the goat? The monkey said, I have no clue, but has there been any dearth of effort on my part? Well, this is known as the monkey leadership, where a leader jumps into action without understanding the problem or taking advice from others or delegating the best person available to solve the problem. So when we talk about leadership, there are many academic references. It's about leading, it's about vision, it's about power. But if we choose a leader on the basis of majority or popularity, we will probably end up choosing a king like the monkey. Well, he can just somersault, he can jump, he can smile, and probably that's all. So it's time we choose a wise leader, a leader who has a vision, a leader who has a mission, a leader who knows how to handle people, how to be very charismatic, and how to be a people's leader. Because today we need leader who are people's leader, who will always be there to handhold people, to guide them. And not only that, he should be the person to lead the people, setting examples so that people get inspired to follow him. So that is all from LPC today. But before we disconnect, it's time I once again thank our session support partners, Imagica Health, for the continuous session support that they have been giving us for such a long time. And we would thank them so that they continue their support in our learning endeavor. Friends, we are not yet over with COVID. So please maintain the COVID appropriate behaviors of SMS, that is sanitization, mask, and social distancing, along with the vaccines. It is summertime, so we should always try to give some water to the street animals and birds because they also need water. Let us keep our environment clean and green so that we can have a planet which is much better for our next generation. Thank you so much, friends, for joining us on this wonderful session of LPC 115. And we look forward to your continuous support on these sessions so that we can take our learning journey to the next level. Once again, to inform you that on 21st of August, we are having our LPC Conclave 2.0 at Ahmedabad. So please don't forget to register yourself for this big gala event that is just round the corner. So thank you so much, friends, for joining with us today. Thank you, Mr. Sudeep, for being such a wonderful host. Thank you so much, Sonam Mathur ma'am, for being such a wonderful speaker and giving your insights on reskilling and upskilling. So here is Arpan Kumar Paul thanking you all for your constant engagement with LPC with a promise of once again joining with you next Sunday at 11 o'clock with a new set of speakers, with a new set of thoughts, and of course, a new set of learning. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful Sunday. Goodbye and namaste.
Namaste, namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So from here, now I'm ending the meeting. Thank